rough, and it takes all that you've got, but he's been here, just waiting for you to knock, to take his hand and plant your feet on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock.
G'day, mate. You're watching Life on the Rock.
Hi, welcome to Life on the Rock, and tonight our guest is Dr. Billy Chavira. He's an OB/GYN, and tonight we're going to talk about NFP and God's plan for marriage, the plan of life and love that He has for us in our vocations, and it'll be an exciting show. Talk about a lot of the facts and God's vision for marriage. Doug, you've been a busy beaver, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Beaver? Yeah. Yeah, actually, we just had a weekend retreat. We had 18 young men from Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, come to Camp Gargano, and just had an outstanding retreat. This is the second time. About half of them, or a third of them, had come earlier in the year, and it was just a fantastic weekend. They showed up on Friday, and you know, for all you out there thinking about coming to Camp Gargano, I mean, we have you know, a bunkhouse. We got the meals. We got the training. You know, we pray. We work out. We talk. We had priests from the Lincoln Diocese come out and give a talk on discerning spirits, Ignatian rule, discerning the movement of the Spirit, and these guys were just ready. I mean, you're talking about college men who are, you know, some are dating seriously, and you know, one is engaged. Greg Waddle, he's been a friend of our families for many years, and he's come back now twice. And these are young men who they want to be good husbands and fathers, or future priests, and they're on fire. And they work out hard. Their camaraderie is excellent, and so yeah, check out campgargano.com for anybody who wants to bring your college group, your high school group out. But yeah, it was just a fantastic weekend. I'm still pretty pumped up about it.
And what you doing this weekend?
This weekend I will be at Immaculate Conception Catholic Church in Denton, Texas, just north of Dallas-Fort Worth area. Speaking Saturday the 12th here at a men's conference, first bilingual conference they're having down there, men's conference. And if you're in that area or anywhere around there, come on out to it. Jesse Romero is going to be there, I'm going to be there, and Father Joe Clausen is going to be there from Alaska. And it's going to be a good conference. We're just going to be talking about Catholic spirituality for men, spiritual warfare, theology of the body for men. It's just going to be a really, really good conference. So again, Immaculate Conception Church, Denton, Texas, this Saturday, the 12th of November, just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Come on out and check it out, and join us, men.
Okay, and on the phone tonight we have Peggy Tequino. She is representing the Goretti Group, and they're sponsoring a race for the chase. Peggy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you, Brother Mark?
Good. Now, when is your race for the chase, and where is it?
It's in San Diego, California. It's actually, well, it's a conference and a run. So the conference starts tomorrow, and the run is on Sunday morning, November 13th.
Okay, and so people can come and join you at this late date, and
Yes, yeah, we're still taking sign-ups, so they could just go to our website and sign up if they're interested in coming.
Okay.
The conference is a leadership conference, so we're training people to more effectively share the message of chastity with a world that's desperate to hear it. And just so many people have misconceptions of what chastity is, and just are really just hungry for this message of God's pure love. So we're training how to share those theology of the body concepts that Blessed Pope John Paul II gave us, and how to really give those out to people we meet every day, people that we're ministering to. So there's a lot of youth ministers, young adult ministers coming to the conference, but also just people who want to be able to talk about chastity in their daily lives too.
So the goal really is to train people to go out and give the chastity message to others, right?
Yes, yes.
And who are some of the speakers you have?
We are having Colin Nakaza and Mandy Erskine. There are two co-MCs, and they'll also be speaking. They're on our speakers bureau for the Goretti Group, as well as Michelle Fleming and Constance Zief. So they are all Grady Group speakers, because we also, what the Grady Group does is we have a speakers bureau. We give talks and retreats all across the country, but we also do leadership trainings and just community gatherings. We want to mobilize the community to come together in fellowship and in prayer to change our culture.
Right, and can you tell us a little bit more about the message? What have you found is effective that reaches young people today?
Wow, well, I mean, I've helped to facilitate some of our retreats for the young people, and I'm a youth minister as well, so we incorporate our theology of the body for teens and all that stuff into our programming, and that's really what we're encouraging with the conference too, that people would do that, because we just see that this is like so key to them understanding life and God, and the lies that are out there are really just, people are confused about who they are, about what their sexuality is for, and that, not seeing it as the gift that it is from God when it's understood in His context and His plan. And we see that when we give that truth, when we give just a little bit of that light, it's like the darkness is kind of so dark that just that tiny bit of light, like they flock to it, and it really opens people's eyes and opens people's hearts, and we see just people being changed, like kind of just hearing one talk, like instantaneous. But especially if you can get them on a retreat, get some time to really understand and grow in just a desire to be chaste and to make that commitment to it, then people are changing, and people are really coming to see who they are as a son or daughter of God and how beloved they really are by Jesus.
Peggy, hi, Doug Barry here.
Hi, Doug.
How you doing?
Good.
Tell us a little bit, if you can, just about the Grady Group, just a brief history, how it got started.
Well, we started in 2003 by our founder, Angela Santero. She is an amazing woman of God, and she kind of gave up everything to start this, just like sold everything, felt God calling her. She was like a businesswoman, and she started this, and it's really grown over the years. Our patron saint is Saint Maria Goretti, as you may have gathered, and she was a martyr for purity, and she's also a patron of the youth and patron of chastity. So she's right here next to me. I have her relic in the office, and she's awesome. And so our goal is to be like her, to give our lives to live according to God's plan, to live chastity. And like, we might not be asked to be a martyr in the real sense like she was, but every day we're asked to be martyrs, to die to ourselves and to be selfless and to just be loving as God loves, to give without counting the cost, and to do what's best for the other. And I think that's kind of at the heart of chastity too. So that's the vision behind it, and why Maria Goretti is our patron. Okay, well, the Race for the Chase is this weekend, and any last words to direct people about if they want to get involved? I know we've had your website up, but any other way to contact you to register? Yes. Well, go to our website. Our phone number is 619-702-7009. You can call us. But also, we would love for you to join on as a prayer warrior, because part of what we do is to just gather the whole community to pray. So if you can come to our website, right on the right-hand corner is a thing that says Prayer Warriors. If you would sign up and donate a rosary, your participation in a daily mass, a holy hour, anything like that really matters and really counts, and we would love you to do that. And also, if you want to support us financially, that's great too. The donate button is in the middle there. So either one of those things, or just to get involved, just send us an email. You can do that on the website. Okay, well, thank you so much, Peggy. Okay, thank you. And that's the Race for the Chase in San Diego, California this weekend. And we're going to go out to our break with a video for the Race for the Chase. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Well, I'm running the Race for the Chase for a lot of reasons, but the Grady Group has made a huge impact on my life.
I feel like running the Race for the Chase gives us an opportunity to be able to share with others just the life of living in purity and chastity, and doing it in fellowship with other people in the community. In essence, we're spreading the message together with our brothers and sisters in Christ.
I just think it's an amazing cause. I think that purity and chastity are wonderful to promote among, especially our young adult crowd.
I gained a lot from this race last year, and that's why I definitely, hands down, just signed up as soon as I knew it was coming to get in.
And in addition to the race that we're doing, whether it be the half marathon or the 5K, we're also attending a conference over the weekend.
Which is wonderful to be amongst over 100 other people that were ready and willing to learn about chastity and to spread that message. And it was very good to be around others, to be able to share and talk and to reflect on the message that we were hearing.
We're going to be listening to awesome speakers and just listening to testimonies and sharing with one another how chastity and purity has affected our lives.
The message of chastity has just been such a beautiful message to learn about and to spread to others. And it's so important in our world today and in our culture today.
That we're living it, and it's changing lives, and it's changing people, and it's really just an amazing life-giving experience.
I think chastity is so important because I think at the heart of chastity is like really loving how God loves and seeing how God sees. And that's so important, like whether you're single or you're married or, you know, whatever stage of life you're in. I mean, that's pretty much the heart of the gospel. Like Jesus gave us that commandment, love one another as I have loved you. But what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to love as God, you know, loves? I think chastity kind of answers that, like, gives us a meaningful way that, you know, we can live out God's love in our bodies right now, you know, on earth.
Chastity is pure love. God is pure love. So when you're studying chastity, you're actually studying God. If you told someone, do you want pure love? Who would say no to that?
For all of those that struggle with chastity, in my own family and my group of friends, whether they're Christians and Catholics or not, I just know so many that are struggling with this, and so to offer up that sacrifice for them is a wonderful opportunity.
Here you go, ladies and gentlemen, Race for the Chaste. All right, so if you're out there in San Diego this weekend, check it out. Be part of it. Be a prayer warrior or get out there and run. Just be part of it. It's absolutely something we need to be focusing on. We've got a battle upon us when it comes to chastity in our world today. Absolutely no question about that. In fact, our guest tonight, Dr. Billy Chavira, is going to talk with us a little bit about this. It plays very well right into the subject tonight on the show, Doctor. Good to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Good to have you here. And for the rest of you out there wondering what this is, if you're just scanning the channels and you found this is the best show you could be watching right now at this given time. I'm Doug Barry along with Father Mark. We're the Rock House Compadres. This is Life on the Rock, and you are in the Rock House, hidden up high in the mountains from the enemies of truth, as you can tell, where it is always the same time of day, 24/7, 365 days of the year. And Doctor, you were able to find your way up through the mountains to our wonderful establishment here, our wonderful home.
I was very different than Phoenix.
Yeah. So you do reside in Phoenix, Arizona.
I do.
All right. And now you're an OBGYN, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what brings you to the Rock House? Why are we spending time talking about this topic, having an OBGYN tonight talking about marriage and family and such? Tell us about yourself, first of all.
Again, I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, board certified from Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix my entire life. I've also a cradle Catholic my entire life. And through different ministries that I've been involved in the church, I interacted with the poor Clares who have been in our diocese. Mm-hmm. And they have heard me speak on issues of chastity and natural family planning and life issues. And a summer and a half ago, they were with us and invited me and said, did I mind if I would be invited to come on the show, Life on the Rock? So that brings me here.
Okay. But now you weren't always on the side of truth and goodness, were you? There was a time as an OBGYN you were on the dark side, right?
That's correct.
Hanging out with Darth Vader.
Thank God for prayer and conversion, sure. And the mercy of the church.
First of all, a little bit about yourself. You're young, relatively young. You're in your 40s. That's incredibly young. Is it not? Of course it is. So you're 40 years old. Been married how many years?
16 years.
16. And how many children do you have?
I have 3 children. My oldest is 15.
Excellent, wonderful. And been a physician for how long?
Since 1996.
Okay, all right. So, cradle Catholic, raised Catholic. Were you on fire for the faith in your early years, or were you just kind of lukewarm? I mean, what were you like in the early going?
I've always faithful to the church. I always went to Mass, never been to Mass. In college, never missed Mass. Didn't lead a promiscuous life at all. Always tried to be faithful to the church. But I struggled with the issue of contraception, especially as a physician. And I never thought I didn't understand why I wanted to be an OBGYN, because when I went to medical school, the issues of life, the issue of abortion, the issue of contraception wasn't a big part of our training. It wasn't until the latter years towards my chief year when I started to realize, well, what is this issue of contraception that they're trying to push on us, especially the issue of the pill. I never was exposed to tubal ligations. I never did IUDs in my training. I was, though, exposed to oral contraception and the Depo-Provera, the shot, that are pretty commonly used. And I prescribed those at that time, and I think part of it was many of the clergy at the time that I associated were speaking myths-truths at the time and saying that you could still be a good Catholic and use the pill or use Depo-Provera, and you were morally still in line with the church because you were using your conscience to determine those. And they brought up all these different issues of why women would need to use those. And not just for medical issues, but contraceptive reasons to do so. And my conversion came in the summer of 2004. Bishop Thomas Olmsted, our great bishop, arrived in December of 2003. And I had met with him on numerous occasions with the administration of St. Joseph Hospital, which is now a former Catholic hospital in our diocese. But in meeting with him and the administration, Sister Margaret McBride, Linda Hunt, the current administration still resides there, we were trying to defend of why the hospital as an institution was also prescribing contraception, doing tubal ligations, doing IUDs, and
so you're working with a group trying to defend that.
Correct.
Okay, and then Bishop Olmsted shows up, packing his 6-shooter, and everything changes.
Correct. Yeah. And and once he started to tread the mesh, he did it in a very loving, gentle way, truly as a shepherd, as a pastor, and through different meetings and work. And we were trying to describe one day of the amount of work that there's a department of St. Joe's called the Department of Reproductive Medicine. It takes care of mostly impoverished families, a huge immigrant population. And Sister Margaret McBride at that time was saying all the good that they did. And I then had the audacity to chime up and open my mouth to Bishop and say, oh, dear Bishop, you know, this good that's done taking care of these poor immigrants, these families, these women, they wouldn't be able to get health care. And Bishop Olmsted looked at me straight in the face and he said, Billy, no good can ever outdo the evil of killing one child from the birth control pill, for an IUD, from Depo-Provera. And after that, I sat like this baby and almost going fetal position, going back. It was July 22nd, the Feast of St. Mary Magdalene. Didn't know that was her feast day at the time. Got in my car, headed home. I was in tears the entire way home. I had undergone a conversion, by Bishop Olmsted lovingly sharing the truth with me, to my face, look in the eye, and telling it.
And at the time, your attitude was you really believed that this was a good thing.
Correct.
So it wasn't as if you were out there trying to undermine the church or tear down the teachings. You thought, yeah, this is good. We're trying to help these people. But he was unafraid to be man enough to look at you square in the eyes and state the truth unequivocally right down the line.
Correct. And I think I'm part of that generation. You know, we're not really the hippie generations, but we're not the youth coming out today. My wife calls us, we're the dupe generation, that we were a part of that. We have home in neither, but this truth wasn't shared with us. This truth wasn't given to us. And part of that, we have to take personal responsibility for not forming our own consciences at the time. But once it was shared to us, it was peaceful. It opened up and said, wow. And I remember going to Mass that night, and the priest that was being talked about conversion and St. Mary Magdalene. It just shows how God really speaks to us through the scriptures and through the tradition of the church in ways that we wouldn't even know at the time.
So, okay, I'm trying to imagine this scene again. He says this to you, and you just, everything inside you just kind of went to the fetal position. It just kind of curled up right there. What was the immediate thought process right there at that moment, right when he said that? Was there anything that wanted to disagree, to argue, or was there something that was like a light bulb just went off?
It was a light bulb. There was guilt, and there was also fear, because at that time, I knew what I needed to do. I knew I needed to change my ways and needed to change the way that I practice medicine. And I think many Catholic physicians have a fear. They have a fear that if they don't offer contraception, what will happen to them? What will happen to their businesses? How will they provide for their families? And so I think there was an element of fear settled it in.
So, but your experience has been the opposite, though, because I was asking that question. How have you done professionally?
Very well. Through the faithfulness of my wife and I and our children, the Lord has just blessed us abundantly. I mean, way more than before I was prescribing the birth control pill. We have been just manifold blessings to our family, not only financially, our health, with friends, with support of the Catholic community and Phoenix, and the need in people seeking physicians such as myself. There's 3 of us board-certified OBGYNs in the Diocese of Phoenix right now that practice in this model. 2 of them have always practiced that way. One of them was my former residence during training that actually stayed in Phoenix. Excuse me, there's 4 now in Phoenix.
And you credit partly to the strong witness of the bishop and the priest and their preaching and things to influence the Catholic faithful to really live the Church's teaching? Is that?
Yeah, I think Bishop Olmsted's faithfulness to the magisterial teaching, I almost see it as a point that he sees the issue of marriage and the issue of contraception, especially God's plan for marriage, as paramount to the Church, especially OBGYNs. He sees us with his priests almost as warriors in the battlefield, that we're in the front lines dealing with the people of God and the faithful doing that. And the priests, the young priests that we have in the diocese, ordained within the last 10 years, are just on fire. And they're on fire. They know the truth. They want to spread the truth, and they do it lovingly, and it's good news. Right. And they want to share the good news.
Yeah, it's incredible. So you go home and you tell your wife. How do you walk in the door? I'm trying to see the scene. Was she okay with you prescribing birth control up to that point? She was on board with it. She thought it was a good thing as well, or were you and her ever at odds over it?
It's not something we really talked about. It was almost that was business, and she was right. It was kind of just there. And her and the kids. It was July 22nd. If you can imagine, July 22nd in Phoenix. It's pretty hot, so they were outside in the swimming pool. And I get home, and she knew that I had a meeting with the bishop and the administration from St. Joseph's that afternoon. And she looked at me. She goes, "What happened to you?" And I told her the situation, and everybody supported me. Everybody was just supportive. And again, it was so free. There was so much freedom. Because I think in my heart, we always know what's right, because we have the grace, sacrament of grace of our Eucharist, our baptism, and confirmation. We know in our heart what's right. And when we acknowledge it and free ourselves with that, it's just, well, a load off of us is lifted.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. All right, well, we're going to do a break right now, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away, or the good doctor is going to come hunt you down and write you a prescription for something. So we'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Life on the Rock. Doug Barry, along with Father Mark, the Rock House Compadres, with Dr. Billy Chavira. Chavira? Did I say that right?
You did.
All right, I get that right there. Thanks for being with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Billy, you great conversion story, just powerful. The words of a successor to the apostles himself looks at you in the eyes and says, "You're wrong." Lovingly, nicely, everything changes. The grace of God's working through the power of that manly stance with charity and compassion right there, and then your whole world is rocked and changed, and God has blessed you, and you've been blessed with a family, a wonderful wife and kids, and it's like a Hallmark movie almost, but that's a whole different network. We don't want you to change the channel right now. So anyway, tell us and the audience out there about marriage, about God's plan, about why contraception is such an evil, why it is such a contradiction to God's design and God's order. I mean, back to the covenant of Adam and Eve. I mean, just fill us in with this. Share your plethora of wisdom with us.
It really goes back to in the beginning of why we were created and who God created us as male and female. And God created us in His image and likeness, and He created us good. Despite what the world tries to tell us and give us artificial things to be good, we all are inherently good, no matter what we do. And He created us unselfishly out of love, because He wants to love us, and He also wants us to participate in His love and enjoy His creation, all of it. He asked us to be stewards of His creation. But He also, with Adam and Eve, we shared in His covenant, became co-participates in creation by asking us to multiply and fill the earth. So that's the essence. We have a covenant with God that we now break continually. Not only as a world, and we break many covenants, but that initial covenant that was made with Adam, that God made with us, we continually break. And one of the ways that we break it is with contraception. We look at the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, that beautiful love between the Father and the Son, that'll bring it of the Spirit. Marriage, the marital act, the covenant of marriage, what marriage is to be an image of the reality of the Trinity. That's as close as we can get physically to heaven here on earth, is through that relationship between husband and wife. So anything that we do that interferes with that total giving, that gift of oneself, is evil. And that's why contraception, in vitro fertilization, the issues of homosexuality, because any time that we have sexual relations and we destroy the unitive and the procreative, when we divorce those two, the spiritual, the physical, anytime, that's evil. That's not, because that was not in God's plan. That's not what God intended us to be. And He wants us to be happy, and this is His plan. This isn't the Catholic Church's plan. This isn't my plan, your plan. This is God's plan.
And the chaos that comes from those of us, if we violate that plan or contradict that plan, we see that through like the STDs, through the psychological, emotional problems, through abortion. I mean, talk a bit about that, about the chaos, the fallout, the casualties that come from violating God's plan.
Yeah, it's amazing the falsities that society and even medicine, us as physicians, give to patients. The fallacy of safe sex. You know, I had a patient come into me just this last week in the office, 16-year-old girl, she's pregnant, and then she wants me to do a sexually transmitted disease check because she wants to be safe. And I look at her and I said, what do you mean? And again, I kind of tell people the truth, as the truth was told to me, and at my conversion, that hopefully continue spreading the truth will do the same for them. And I said, do you know what the safe thing for you to do now? The safe would be to be abstinent, to not be having relations. Because the sexually transmitted disease rate in this country is alarming, and that leads to so many other medical issues to these young women. And we give women this fallacy that, you know, if they do this, they'll look this way, and it's a complete unauthentic love, unauthentic truth that the world is trying to sell. In abortion, people said, oh, the answer to abortion is contraception. I mean, that's, again, one of the biggest fallacies around. People go, you ask women that have had abortions or people that are in the abortion clinic that may come to my office because they see a sidewalk counselor, they've all been on contraception. The answer to a failed contraceptive is an abortion. And it's not the way out of things to do that.
So, and this has been proven by statistics. So when you see the so-called physicians, experts on television shows that say that contraception must be part of women's health care because we have to be providing this, and this is what's going to reduce the rate of abortions and so forth. The statistics just don't show that.
Right. It's absolutely not there.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And the scary thing too about the STDs, right? The transmission rate for women. There's nothing that they sometimes they give a promise or hope that you're protected from this by using some forms of contraception, but really, some of the most deadly ones, right? The contraceptions do nothing, right, to prevent contracting that. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Some of the viral agents, the human papilloma virus, which is one of the most common sexually transmitted
which can
diseases
lead
around,
to cancer.
Can lead to cancer.
Right.
I mean, that causes cervical cancer of women, which is the #1 GYN cancer of women in the world. Can penetrate through a condom, despite what popular media and what popular people want to say.
And even this latest vaccination, the Gardasil situation, that's supposedly supposed to help with HPV situations, but isn't it only allegedly there are how many different strains of HPV, and this only affects a few of them or so? I mean, is it not true that the information that's out there is bogus?
Well, the vaccines out there do have some medical benefit. Those really have been shown to reduce the risk of cancers, because even though there's over 60 different HPV types, human papillomavirus types, the most common ones are the ones that are found in those vaccines.
Okay. Yeah. But isn't there something, but talk about I mean, obviously the immorality of vaccinating a 12-year-old girl, or I know lately the Center for Disease Control is talking about 8-year-old boys, even as young as 8 years old they're encouraging. Why are we vaccinating 8-year-old boys and 12-year-old and 9-year-old girls with Gardasil to prevent them from HPV, which is spread primarily through sexual transmission? I mean, this whole thing is completely upside down. It just seems so diabolical.
Right. It's not only that. It's when you see mothers bringing their daughters in for contraception at 9, 10, 11 years old because they want to protect their daughters. I mean, I've had conversation with physicians who bring their daughters in, and then they get so angry with me because I will not prescribe a birth control pill for them at that, because they said, oh, they just want to protect them. I said, protect them? I mean, I don't know if you just saw, the FDA just issued a recent study, government-funded study, on Yasmin, which is one of the most common oral contraceptives popular used in the country right now. And the reason why it's popular, it has a drospirenone, it has a certain drug within it that actually decreases weight gain and those type of things, other artificial things that women are concerned about. Now, the recent study just showed that there's a 75% increase of blood clots for women that use that pill. And all the FDA is urging at this point is potentially to put a black box warning. What's wrong with that picture? Even Matt Lauer 2 years ago did a special on the Today Show on the patch, the birth control patch, Ortho Evra, and showed all these athletic college women that are just dropping dead. What was the common denominator? They all had used this patch. And said, what's wrong with this picture? Then let's go back just a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, to the swine flu. Obviously, any life that dies unnecessarily is a tragedy.
Tragic, yeah.
Or the miners in West Virginia that died. You know,
Right.
I think there were 9 miners that died. The country was outraged over the swine flu, over this tragedy of this terrible mining accident where we had innocent loss of life in West Virginia. But think about the pool for legislation and calling for Congress to make all these changes and enforce vaccinations for the swine flu. But here we are, women dying from embolisms, from blood clots, from heart attacks, and all our government is doing is potentially putting a black box warning on a box. We think that women have used the birth control pill as a form of feminism, that it's freedom. To me, that's the biggest thing tying. How can you be free when you're taking something, your fertility isn't a disease, you're taking it in, and the risk associated with that? It's just mind-boggling to me of going down that path. And
you mentioned the people the women who have died as a consequence, but there are other consequences that may not result in death. But I mean, and this I know, the fine print on the pill, for example, can be, neurological problems, heart problems. I mean, there's the breast cancer. There's a link there to breast cancer too, is there not? I mean, there's a whole host of other issues that don't result in death necessarily, but still are damaging and life altering and destructive in themselves.
And those are the medical issues. That's not even addressing some of the non-medical issues of what that's doing to society, what that's done to promiscuity, what's that done to the marriage, what's that done to the relationship. Because going back to God's plan for marriage is I give myself completely to you, to my spouse, and vice versa. We can't say, I'm giving this to you, but I'm going to cut out my sexuality.
Right.
That's not a freely gift of self. That's disordered. And you look at the divorce rate in our country, no wonder that our divorce rate is so high.
Sure.
I know you give talks and things in the diocese. When you're speaking to maybe like a young couple and maybe they are contracepting, have you found a particular aspect of the message that strikes them, that helps them to get it, encourages them to practice the church's teaching?
I think to explain to them the medical issues or what are the risks, when they understand that there are physicians such as myself that are board certified. We're not voodoo doctors, we're not quacks, we're board certified physicians in the community that want to support women and that are true feminists and see that, and we're trying to uplift their dignity and who God created them to be. I think that really causes them pause, especially for the man. Because as a man, when I look, as Bishop looked in my eye, I can look at a person that's engaged or someone that may be married and cohabitating and discussing, what are you doing here? God created us as men to protect. We say Eve ate the apple, but Adam was supposed to guard Eve. So that responsibility falls on us, on men also, to guard our women, to protect them, to shield them.
We've had a number of chastity speakers here over the years that talk about how young people just respond to the idea that there's a plan for marriage, that they really had no idea about God, our Creator, has a plan for marriage, that we're to live out, and that if we do that, it brings greater happiness and greater fulfillment. Do you find that true with the couples you work with?
Absolutely. The couples that use NFP that I see in my office are just some of the joy-filled couples. They come in together. They don't come in just one or the other. They come in with all their children. They're happy. Their children are well-behaved. Occasionally they're crying in the office, but look at my office and look at an abortion clinic. To see where's their joy, where's their life, where's their, and it's just beautiful to be able to share in that intimacy with couples that really get it and understand it.
Yeah, powerful stuff. All right, well, we're going to run to a break right now. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go away. We'll be back in just a moment with more from Dr. Billy Chavira. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, the final 10 minutes of Life on the Rock, and you couldn't be at a better place in your life right now than watching or listening to this show. Did you like that, brother?
Yeah, always confident, Doug.
We're Dr. Billy Chavira. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name for the last break there. So, now, real quick, I want to revisit this issue about men. You mentioned men, Adam not protecting Eve. And this is a big thing for me. I travel a lot and speak at a lot of men's conferences, and this Camp Gargano I have back in Lincoln, Nebraska. I work with a lot of men, young men. And the fact that we are protectors, we're providers, we're mentors, we're teachers, we're true lovers, not the Casanova lover, but the Christ lover, the giving of oneself on the cross for those that God has entrusted to our care, a wife, children, and so forth. What do you see when men step up in families or in relationships and look at the woman, look at the wife or the girlfriend and say, we're going to lead a chaste life, or if they're married, we're going to get rid of this birth control. What does that do for the women? What does that do when the man takes that spiritual leadership role and stands tall like a man and says, as the bishop said to you, this is evil, we're done with this? What does that do for the relationship, and what does it do for the women?
It completely uplifts it, because for one simple reason, it's participating in God's plan for creation. Our plan of the catechism, our plan of what the church teaches through marriage is God's plan for our happiness. It is our roadway to happiness. If we acknowledge it and do it, and if a man says, you know, I'm going to be the spiritual head of my household, I'm going to stop this, which primarily may be done for his pleasure, and get rid of it and say, we're going to this, that's what women want. Women want to be uplifted. They want to be respected. They want to be loved. And then women are givers, and they will give and give and give and give joyfully. And we see that in my own marriage. I mean, things could be going great, and then you stop doing some little things, and you sense that you may not get the return. And again, we don't do that to get that return, but in doing so, that freely giving of oneself, it just comes right back to us.
Right, right. Yeah, I was in a conversation with a man one time on a construction job. Used to work construction years ago, and I remember saying to him that, you know, when a woman is on birth control and a man's okay with that, that's the first step that leads to him seeing her as an object. And he was working there, and he stopped, and he looked up at me, and he said, just in an instant, he said, "You're right. You're right. She becomes an object." And so when the man says, "Enough with this," it means, like you said, it may be for his pleasure that there's this freedom to share in the intimacy at any time, you know, with the birth control. But now, if we're going to practice NFP, we're going to take responsibility, we're going to recognize God's order of things here, then a bit of sacrifice has to step in there, and there's a bit of selflessness, and it starts moving that direction. And pretty soon, she's not the object; she is a treasure to be cherished, and that just wins the woman's heart, doesn't it, ladies? Oh yeah.
Yeah. All ladies want to be cherished.
Yeah, they want to be cherished. They want to know that they're a treasure, not a trophy, but a treasure.
I think, too, you all could speak to this as married men, but it seemed like it would lead you to have a little bit of reverence for the mystery of human sexuality, that I'm not just in total control here, I'm submitting to God's plan, right? And NFP would help you to enter into those rhythms of life and things.
Right, absolutely. Oh, I think so, 100%. Excuse me, Billy, Dr. Billy, before we run out of time, we're down to several minutes left here. Tell us a little bit about the history of birth control and you know, the Conference of Lambeth, some of these issues that has gotten us to this mess that we're in, because contraception was never accepted by any Christian religion until the Conference of Lambeth. And tell us a little bit about some of the history of this.
Yeah, that's correct. Contraception was forbidden from all Christian religion up until the late 1920s, when the Anglican Church, a Protestant denomination or an ecclesial community, whatever you want to describe it as, with the Lambeth Conference, they made a statement that for serious and proportionate reason, there may be circumstances in where couples may want to not have any further children for health reasons. And from that started the slippery slope of where we're at today. But the beauty of our church, and to say that the Catholic Church continually will speak the truth despite popular opinion, started, you know, since the beginning of time, but most specifically in 1930 until our present day. But in 1930, Pope Pius XI, in his encyclical on chaste wedlock, I'm not a Latin scholar, Casti Connubii, he reaffirmed that the primary purpose of the marital act was for procreation. But he also described the secondary, which was the unitive, that the relationship. And he said that there would be morally permissible, and that we wouldn't have a moral stain on our soul if we had relations during periods where pregnancy couldn't be achieved. And primarily when that was written, they were thinking about during pregnancy and menopause. From there, the scholars and theologians looked at the cycle and knowledge came. It wasn't up until about the 1920s that we even really understood a cycle. St. Augustine's referenced a little bit that there were times, but from a scientific perspective, it wasn't until the 1920s, 1930s that we actually saw the cycles, in 1950s with Dr. Billings. And then in 68, again, Pope Paul VI in Humana Vitae reaffirms the teaching. Again, contrary to popular opinion, contrary to what everything was going on in the world, that, oh, the church is going to change your stance here. And Pope Paul VI stood by and said, no, because why? This isn't our stance. We are God's church, And this is God's plan for marriage. This is God's plan of who He created us to be. And again, we're slow learners, and we still don't get it. And thank God in His infinite wisdom sent us the Blessed John Paul the Great and his writings of theology of the body that I think really took the concepts of contraception, why it's so evil, from the heavens, the real intellectuals, but to really be able to understand it for people that aren't as bright, such as myself, that I could understand some of that stuff in what we're using today to teach. And it's really important to really reach our youth and start at an early age, because people are just bombarded with the issues of contraception and fallacies of unauthentic love that we try to teach people.
Everything you're talking about, Blessed John Paul II talking about theology of the body and the plan of God, the marital act, the gift that we are to one another in marriage, the giving of oneself in that intimacy is so profound and so powerful, so beautiful. And when you look at that, and then you look over here at this mainstream attitude of the daily sexual jokes in our sitcoms and our talk shows and our radio shows, and the mainstreaming of pornography and the sex scandals that are going on now, from college campuses to high schools to teachers with students. I mean, this, teenagers, coming into your office, as young as they are, asking for birth control and STD tests, and just where we're at over here compared to where God teaches here. How in the world do we get back here? I mean, because so many people in our society, so many of us are so far gone with regards to understanding, or even being formed in a way to be able to understand, come from such dysfunctional families and disordered lifestyles, that, and big question for you in just a couple minutes remaining, Dr. Billy, but how do we fix this? Yeah. I mean, ultimately, divine intervention and prayer and grace of God, but on a natural level, we do need to work towards, just as Bishop Olmsted did, in helping you see the light and what you're doing by your speaking and even being on the show. But what would you say to that in the last couple of minutes here?
Well, I think we need to be a people of hope, and I think we are a people of hope. We have the sin of Good Friday, but we also have the reality of the resurrection. And we have good news to share. And I think the youth, the people that I see coming up, they're just on fire. They're on fire in the pro-life movement. They're on fire for their marriages, and they want truth because they see the dysfunction. They see the dysfunction, the unhappiness that is spread, these lies. In our sexuality, the covenant of marriage is such a sacred thing, it's such a holy thing, that I think we're slowly beginning to get it. And I think in time, it truly will happen. And we don't get it at times that's so holy, but Satan does. And this is spiritual warfare. This is true battle. Because where does Satan attack us? In this country, in our lives, and it's an issue of sexuality. It's divorce, it's the STDs, it's the homosexual agenda, and you go on and on and on. It's all based on sex. Because why? Because that's God's plan. Satan knows it's holy. We as a people need to understand how holy it is and act on it, because we do have the answers.
Yeah, that's a great point. The devil does know, ladies and gentlemen, where to really attack us at. You go right to the heart. You attack the priesthood, you attack the head of the church, you attack that gift that God gives man and woman to co-create with God. And through that co-creation, God breathes His image and likeness, a new soul, into that child in the womb. Unbelievable that we can share in that. And the devil knows how to rip at that and tear that apart and create a lot of problems. So, Dr. Billy, thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight. Excellent material and so necessary to be talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, again, don't forget this Saturday, the 12th, I will be speaking Immaculate Conception Church in Denton, Texas, just north of Dallas-Fort Worth. I say that because I want to encourage any man out there, come check it out, be part of that day. It's going to be an awesome day. Thanks for being with us. Father, let you take us out.
May our Heavenly Father shine His face upon you and give you His peace. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. We'll see you next week.